Okay, calling the meeting to order. Like to welcome our new members. Lauren, this is your second.
She's a veteran at this point.
That's right. And Kate, who's our newest member. Sean is he's on a leave of absence, so he won't be joining us. Do we have the minutes from last month?
They're
They're
the
here?
last thing in your packet there.
Because we actually do have three people.
I know, I was thinking we weren't gonna have either of them.
Yeah.
We do.
You do.
Okay. So we will start with old business, 10 Fishkill Avenue. Ken and Carol Polanski, please come down. Come on down.
Okay, this is Carol.
Hi, Ken and
I got
Carol.
Bill
Yeah.
Pachi from Lou by Anderson, who was on the Zoom.
Oh, yeah. Choppy Zoom.
Yes, it was.
Okay, so I believe the way we left off the last meeting was the 5 windows in the front of the house.
Yes.
There was a concern that the new sashes or frame would be somewhat larger than the existing window, cutting down the glass visibility from the street.
Correct.
Well, in that larger, it'll occupy more space
Yeah.
than the current windows.
Carol put together a color-coded package. So great printing, thank you. And, but I think we're there. So the first page is the actual current window.
Yeah.
If you go to the second page, that's the diagram that was drawn up to explain to me exactly what you wanted. And you'll see in black on the left-hand side is the dimensions of the current window. And on the right-hand side in red is the proposed window. So starting from the top, we're currently 2.5 inches, the new window is 2 1/4. The left and right sash, we're currently 2 1/4, the new window is 2. The muntin is currently 7/8, the new one is 1, so it's a little bit larger there, but that comes to roughly what, 16th of an inch on each side.
That and also you got
Paint.
two panes of glass, so
Yeah.
it's understandable.
And then the cross rail is currently 3, new is 2 3/4. And the bottom is currently 5 1/2, and the proposed is 3 1/2, so we do gain 2 inches there. So if the rest of the package, they do have pictures of a shaky hand holding tape measures and rulers, trying to show what we documented. So again, black is the current window. And that's the left-hand sash, showing about 2 1/4 on the current window.
All right, the dimensions that you're showing, they're to the aluminum storm windows or the wood frames,
The storm window.
storm windows? Okay, does anybody have any questions? Just to sort of get the new members of, at least one of the new members up to speed. The Polanski's had an application to replace their existing windows with new inset windows, and we didn't have a problem on the sides. The rear is not visible from the sidewalk, so we didn't really care. But we were concerned about the front, and so that's what is being presented to us at this particular point. The change that would result on the front 5 windows, which do we have an elevation?
Oh, yeah, it's in the.
It's 3 windows on the first floor, or 2 windows on the first floor, 3 on the second floor. Yeah.
Okay?
My question is that, because the frame is not changing, so the original sash you're asking to remove. So these dimensions are the new frame and sash dimensions?
That is correct. That is correct.
So there's not really a loss of
And I did the math of how much glass.
Yeah.
It's the window's 31 by 61 is the opening. And I took out the frames and sashes and all that stuff. And then the existing window, I came up with, 1,375 square inches of glass. And with the RBA, I came up with 1,470 square inches of glass.
Gain
Yes,
area of
Yeah.
window.
yes. And I did it many times to make sure I was correct. I felt like a beautiful mind here with my calculations.
All right, any questions? Any questions, Mr. Window Man?
No, I mean, that was my main question, because I was surprised that I thought that the numbers were just sad, so if those are the whole frame details, then. That was our big question last meeting.
I can avoid the next 8 pages.
You can avoid the next 8 days, yeah.
I think
Well,
it's 60 pages.
I was gonna say, where's the application, but I guess what we'll do is we'll treat this as a continuation of last month's
That's
application.
what
So
I was.
we'll issue a notice.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll issue a notice on whatever the resolution is. Do I have a motion concerning this application?
I would move to accept the application.
I need a second from somebody. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Now the.
You
payments
can
start.
abstain. or-
I will abstain for now. I feel like I'm still warming up here and we'll have that one.
Okay. All right, you
Thank
got
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just remember for next time when I work in Cold Springs.
Yeah.
Moving before they sell it.
Okay, 11 Locust Ridge.
We're back.
Okay.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm the owner and this is the guy that did all the drawing.
Yeah,
Alright.
so we were here and we received the certificate of appropriateness September 8th, 2021. But since then, we were producing construction drawings and Billy was trying to find a contractor that could work for him, and time elapsed. It's almost been 2.5 years, so contractor went to file for permit. And they said, we need to get a
Renewal.
renewal.
Speed bump.
So basically, these are the drawings, these are the drawings that we presented back in 2021. Al has a signature on
Huh.
there. We were granted the certificate of appropriateness.
No denying it then.
And then these drawings here, these are our construction drawings that were just filed, and they reflect all of the red lines that were put on the drawings. So everything in our construction drawings is reflective of what was approved in 2021. So these drawings are just more detailed.
And then no changes then.
No
Zero
changes.
changes.
Nope.
Just
Every-
me hoping that construction costs would come down
Right,
in
yeah.
the time period from pandemic, blah, blah, blah. And, no, that's not true. But now I have a builder and we're ready to go.
Things that you see here, like cedar and wood trim and everything, everything's been incorporated into the construction drawings to reflect that, so those changes. So,
Anybody have any questions?
To reiterate, so no design changes, no material
No, there
changes.
is not one
nothing,
change.
just
not one
anything
change.
changes were picked up in here. Okay.
we have a sheet in our construction drawings. So here are the identical elevations. They just have more notes on them.
Yeah.
And then the next sheet, we have the exterior materials table. It has everything from trim, windows, siding. For example, in our last meeting, we talked about the hardy siding being smooth side out. That's identified in this schedule table as well. So no changes. We did everything according to this. It's just the drawings and finding a contractor was what was taking so long. So,
I don't have any questions.
Any
You
questions?
guys already, you did the thing. but-
yeah, I mean, they,
By the way, great work,
you know,
great work.
Yeah,
Since you're both somewhat new, apparently, when we came in, we were talking about different composites for railings and columns and stuff, and ultimately we went the cedar route, and that's what the board was directing us to do, and that's what we did.
Rest it after 2 years with a client and architect.
No, we did all the changes before we even brought them to you, like, we did all that work before we ever got
Yeah,
here, yeah.
we had several design meetings before we even came here the first time, so.
Yeah.
All right, do I have a motion concerning the application or the renewal of the app of this particular approval?
Oh,
Go for it, Lauren.
What do I say?
Say, I move that we renew this certificate of appropriateness.
I move that we renew the certificate of appropriateness that was approved in 20.
Yes.
21.
Do I have a
I'll
second?
second that.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Done.
You can have an eye out of the new person.
Yeah.
I'm confident. Blue beam on this and we'd be
If
fine.
we were both new, I would just like to.
Especially your
I
blue
shouldn't
beam
be
in.
making motions yet, but whatever.
And
Sorry to the
the
wolves.
contractor that Billy's working with, I've worked with before too. so.
Oh, that's great.
Well,
All right.
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
like,
you.
over the weekend, I'll be sending out the notice and, you guys will be, on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, yeah, I should have your, email address. Okay,
Yeah.
now,
We-
133, 135 Main Street. That is, it's a little bit of an explanation. That was,
Okay.
And, I guess.
that was an application.
This is, well, you were you?
Yeah, it's
Last
the, that's
I would love
the
to.
torch. I did watch
I would
that.
love
Maybe we did this. I've been out 2 times.
I appreciate it.
Hey, you back in the residential.
If you didn't get it last time, then it was two
No,
times ago.
I know you haven't seen.
Thanks
it.
again.
All right, good night. The issue there is that there are, approvals that the applicant needs from the zoning board, from the planning board, because he's changing the use of the structure. And also an approval from us since it's in the historic district.
And to buy some of the sidewalk, right?
Well,
Or
the
is that
zoning
stuff-
board can't act until he's bought the sidewalk. Because
That's step one,
right, because that affects the lot size.
right?
And so, one of the things that they're concerned about is compliance with the limitation as far as lot size goes. So ultimately, there are a number of approvals. Presently, he is being reviewed by the planning board. And the zoning board has not even seen his application yet, and I spoke with James Hartford, who's the architect, and I told him, I said, I don't see any reason why, because they had come to us for a workshop. And we went over his application. And there's really no reason to get into anything until some of the questions or issues dealing with the other review boards have been resolved. So they're not,
They're not coming.
they're not
there's
coming
nothing
today.
really to Talk about. Yeah, boy, we might be. Different times there.
we're zipping through the agenda.
Are they, so we are just,
We're waiting.
we are party number 3 to be making decisions on this?
Well,
I mean, if he doesn't get the village, the property on Main Street, then the front. The
Yeah.
design is going to change.
Right.
And then they, okay.
right.
What if they did get it and then we reviewed the design and the question is, I mean, is it?
No, we still,
This is an issue that we do periodically come across. In that applications have to be approved by several boards. And it's kind of tricky because sometimes, everybody wants to be last. But somebody's got to, take the start with it. And so depends on how significant the approvals are from the other boards. And in this case, it's a significant change to what is there right now. So I think that we would probably be last. But if, for example, the changes are minor, sometimes we may go first and get that out of the way. Sometimes people use it as, for example, the 133, 135 Main Street, I think, no, I'm sorry. Who was it? Parsonage. Yeah, the demolition. They wound up suing because they thought that they felt that they were misled, that their approvals were in place, when in fact, the zoning board had a real problem with what they were proposing. Okay, so that's 133, 135 Main Street.
So this when they do come back in front of us, we will have. Yeah, I mean, well, the workshop, they actually came in. This is what they came in with, very well prepared and laid out of what they are like hoping for. But I think we all, I mean, I have some comments, like I said at the time, but yeah. they're trying to do that.
Okay, we have, the next applicant is a real troublemaker. Come on down, Carol. Just full disclosure, Carol's my accountant, so.
All right, so this is a big one.
Not a lot about you.
Yeah.
That's right.
Getting her some operable windows this week.
Helpful.
Official too.
Makes everybody sweat in your office.
As the tax season rolls on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Carol, why don't you tell the board, what you're asking or what you would like to do?
Okay, there in the packet is a picture of the 3 windows. Those are 2 rooms in my office, and those are the windows that face the parking lot, like, right next to the post office.
Yeah.
So they don't open. I just want to put in a double hung to open, same size. I don't know, I emailed this to Jeff, I don't know if he included it in your packet, I only got this.
Oh,
from-
no, I don't think I've seen that.
No, that's not annoying.
I have copies for every.
Oh, great.
I just received this drawing. After I submitted the packet. So it doesn't look any different at all. He is just, it was just open, and it's in the office, if I can get it. I've been there 5 years, during COVID, I moved everything home. It's just a ventilation system, but I just renewed my lease for 10 years. So I'd like to just. Window.
These windows are not, these were installed during this renovation, right? Before my time, but it must have been, they're not, they didn't know all that.
Well, the thing that you have to keep in mind is that this is the old Leahy Pavilion, right?
Yes, it's an existing building.
Right, so it's one of the few existing buildings in this development that was there before. But this is the side of the building that connected to Butterfield Hospital that was demolished, right?
Yes.
So are all of the existing windows fixed like this?
As far as I know, they are the whole building, yeah.
The whole building's like
They
that?
all look like that. There's the seniors down at the end. The post office has a couple windows, and then there's offices in the back which face the new NYP building.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my concerns too is like, if there was ever a fire in my office, there's only one door to get out of, so I don't have a window to open. I mean, that seems kind of,
Yeah.
but basically, I just would like fresh air.
Okay, is this is called the meeting rail. Is that the same location as that?
It's the same. He said everything will look the same, except it'll open, where that's stationary, nothing opens on it.
It'll look a little different because the upper sash is gonna be inset from, so this is one flush kind of face
Oh,
and,
okay.
but I think that in my opinion, the most important thing is the glass being the same and the location, that kind of asymmetric split being maintained, since these are the windows in every other opening.
The split will be the same.
Yeah,
And the thickness too, I think. It's true, and I walked there this weekend because I was curious, and I think the trick would be to match it so that you don't see a discrepancy, because you're looking at this out and you
Right.
see the post
Right.
office in these windows, and if they're,
The man that I got the estimate from,
Yeah.
was given to me by, Unicorn, and he installed those windows.
Okay,
So he's it's a big person.
all right. Anybody have any questions?
I guess in the depth and how it meets the brick coursing, would that be consistent as well? She would just, I guess, put it in, and if it's thicker, it would go back into the space rather than pop out further.
yeah, I think that would be
Maybe one.
how it would have to be, yeah.
Has the right glazing spec that they did the last, and stuff, and that's.
Well, that's an interesting point. Are they, so they're replacing the entire frame?
Excuse me?
They're replacing the entire frame. They would have to.
Yeah,
I believe so. He, the estimate there, he
Yeah.
wrote the description.
did he tell you about
Oh, I don't have.
like interior kind of them, they're gonna have to open up around the window? in order to get the old-
opening would change it all.
No repair work? He didn't say there was gonna be any repair work to the, I don't know, on the inside, is it wood trim or is it just sheetrock or?
I mean, it's just inside my office.
Yeah,
There's like no frame around the window. It's just a shelf.
Right, because in order for, in other words, this can't be another one, an insert window, because there is no frame to insert into.
yeah, I mean, there's
In
just a
order to
subframe, whatever that
Right,
detail is that the contractor built out, which. I don't know how we would know that.
In the packet, I put the description with the estimate from the guy who's doing the work.
This is something that is not really your problem, but for us, if people see this and love it, and everyone else in the building wants the same thing, then we want to
Yeah.
match.
I
the
think,
thing.
yeah,
everywhere.
right.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
that's the
description.
description of the work. Yeah.
Includes glass removal and install, top sash fixed with crossbar at equal height to existing window, bottom sash only lifts up. Includes screen.
And the screen too, that would, visually be pretty different.
yeah, it's gonna be on the outside of the lower sash, right? I don't have any issue fundamentally with it, and I think setting a precedent for if somebody wants this to, in other spaces in the building, that it's just a matter of making sure that, right, the details are
Consistent.
Yeah,
consistent. I can't imagine they would want to install this window in a different place in the brick. That just leaves more of a mess to, to deal with. So I think it's sort of just like writing in the detail. I mean, can we just put that in a potential approval? That the new window is installed in the same, the same depth in the brick courses or something.
and that's the dimension match of the frame, so we're not losing glazing area.
Yeah.
Because we don't have any information about, of these dimensions.
Well, the thing that you have to remember is that, this. This is one piece of glass, am I correct? Or is it two?
It's probably two.
Yeah.
Probably two. That, yeah, I would guess that's two.
Like a true divided.
I think it is true, because I think the bar comes all the way through.
Yeah.
Comes through.
It just doesn't, you said like the top would be the same, the only thing is, like the bottom, because it looks like 2/3 and 1/3, it can only open so much, I said, I don't, it doesn't. mean
Yeah,
to hold it all
sure,
the way,
that makes
'cause
sense, yeah.
I said,
Well-
make it the same.
Okay, but see, I guess the question I would have is that, if you're installing a bottom, lift up sash,
Mhm.
I would assume you'd have to have some sort of track.
Yeah,
So that being the case,
yeah,
the existing frame has to come out because the existing frame doesn't have a track.
My gut is it's a brick to brick reinstall, the
Yeah.
whole windows coming out and this new frame and these.
yeah,
sashes.
it has to be, you're not, yeah, you can't mount, you're not gonna mount anything in, within this aluminum frame, that goes away.
Then it's how thick is this?
So the frame is gonna be,
If I understood, and I'm not in construction, I think he said the bottom would go inside the existing frame.
Yes,
That open.
yes,
I
it
don't
would,
think
it
it's
would
taken
have
out,
to,
right?
because you'd have
Well,
to,
he would have to take this whole thing out,
yeah,
this whole, like the whole metal part, and that would just go away, and then he would put a brand new window in that brick opening. We're assuming, because I don't know how else he would do it,
I think
Right.
that's when it starts to get,
really
we were talking
small.
about earlier, smaller and then it wouldn't
right.
match.
But I think what you were talking about, or what he said to you, had to do with this top sash, because that's a fixed sash.
Right,
So it would have to be in the same location
right.
as the existing top sash.
yeah, right, yeah.
Okay,
And then the frame itself is then in the same existing location, the lower sash is just inset.
inset, so it
up,
can lift it
so-
up and down. Okay, so the note that we would add is that the plane of the top sash
Hmm,
to be to match what is there now.
yeah,
The height that is at.
Well, no, what we're talking about is the brick is a lot thicker than
Oh, right.
the sash, the window sash. So what we're saying is that this top frame needs to be in the same plane as the existing.
so like where the window meets the brick
Right.
stays the same.
Yeah.
Like it's not going any out towards
Oh,
the
no,
outside or in towards the
No,
inside, it's
that's
like,
what told me.
yeah, again, it wouldn't make any sense to do it that way, so.
Screen is proud though, right? So are we more like, do we need the line of the screen to hold that original location and the window to come back from that? What will your eye?
I wouldn't necessarily, because screens are often removable
I was
too,
just
so
saying,
like
I
a
don't
lot of
really
people,
care about the screen.
like some, yeah,
Because I just want to open one window. That's why I put down 1 to 3 windows. Whatever gets approved. I mean, 3 is what my office has, but I just want at least one window that opens.
I think it makes sense to do it all three for you.
Or not, because
Yeah.
when I'm not there, they're locked.
Yeah,
They're locked.
Right.
I kind of view a screen as not a permanent component of the window
Okay.
personally.
I just know they're up all the time now, right? So when you're looking at the facade, you'll see 3 screens and that will look
Yeah.
different.
Yeah,
I don't think temporary internal screen is really
Let
the
it recede a little
ideal, but-
more.
Cover it
It'll
with.
cover the white blinds and let it recede a little more, maybe.
Yeah. If you want to.
yeah.
Okay. So do I have an application as modified by stating that the plane of the top sash is to be installed, or the top sash to be installed in the same plane as the existing?
Yeah, and I think the only other, and it does say this in the proposal. Top sash fixed with crossbar at equal height to existing windows, so.
Well, but
That's-
he's talking about where.
No, yeah, I just want to confirm that
That's
that
important.
is
Yeah.
in the application
That's a
itself
good
too.
point. That brick
Um,
slip in right there, that it really, the sash locks into it. I feel
Right.
like that's an important design.
Yeah.
element.
Okay, so do I have a motion on the application as amended?
I'm gonna be change. And also, just what we were talking about earlier with the actual, thickness of these members. I mean, we have a verbal that this is the same guy.
But we
it's
don't
really
actually
not.
have any information here
Right,
on what
so
these are.
ideally, they'd be exactly what's existing, but I think if, if it turns out that this sash is an inch wider than, or 2 inches or 3, I don't know what our tolerance is, but, than the existing.
Well, are you talking about the sash or the frame?
The sash with the frame in comparison to the existing frame and what.
Well,
difference is.
the existing frame, I would have to assume is gonna be thinner. Because,
Yeah.
because it doesn't need it frac for,
Yeah.
So what's the tolerance for
Right.
the difference?
I think I would like to have a little more information just about the dimensions of the existing versus what's happening, because I see these overall dimensions here, but I don't understand like actually how this, I see the detail, but I don't know what the dimensions are here. And I'd just like to know how they
I
compare
asked for, that's everything
to
he
the,
gave me. I mean, I don't know if any of
They
you
can
make
get,
phone calls to understand. I mean, I don't, this is out of my,
To clear it, is there some way we can say as long as it's not X inches larger and then so we don't have to.
well, I guess I'm not especially worried that much, only because, this is, it's not really a historic building.
Okay,
I mean, this is a relatively modern building.
but it's the one existing building in that development.
Okay,
I just want to say, I think opening windows that should always be a thing.
100%.
Like windows should never
We're
be
gonna
fixed. It
figure
should not
this
happen.
out.
So we're gonna try to figure it out
Yeah.
because
you know.
everyone needs fresh air.
It's like my eyes start to get
Yeah, it's
burned
not a
and
good
it
thing. It's
irritates me.
terrible.
And when the seniors are doing their cooking, there's all kinds of smell that come out of it.
That must be really fun.
It's just like, I mean, I really freaked out during COVID and they were like, you have good ventilation system. I said, something is like irritating my eyes. And I said, I just want fresh air. So since I renewed my leave, I looked into this 2 years ago and I didn't do anything. Since I renewed it, I said, I'm gonna be here. I just.
yeah,
No, I'm like 100% behind you. I think we just want to understand a little bit like what exists and what will
Can
happen.
anybody here call the guy? Because I really don't understand this stuff. If you spoke, the guy is Ray, he's on the estimate. I mean, I would rather somebody.
are we allowed to do that?
Or could he
You
just
can
give
mark
us,
up,
yeah, we
show
can,
you where
like
the
kind of what I
dimensions
did for the
are
other
You want me to call him
people.
now? I have his cell phone.
Well, he won't be there to
He'll
do
answer
the
probably.
measuring, right? But we'll need,
well, I guess, the question really is that the frame, to me, the meeting rail is gonna be larger than the existing rail.
Mm.
I mean.
It may
to me-
not be that much too. I mean,
Right.
it may not be because they might, this window may be designed to correspond with an operable version. You
Right,
know,
can
I don't know,
we-
We don't know, we just,
Can we, call the installer and let's see if he,
Can I try him now? I've got his
Yeah,
cell phone.
yeah, please.
I also have his cell phone because he is who I buy all of my glass from. So I can talk to him. I just didn't know whether we're allowed to do that.
You have the spec, the first spec, so it's just the.
I mean, he's not gonna
It's
know
not
this
just
information
the
like off the
dimensions
top of his head.
Well, the thing is that, the frame I'm not all that concerned about, as long as it's comparable.
I mean, I tend to agree, and I think consistency is important too. It's like, I wouldn't want this being done like every weird number of windows, like one in this group of people, and then 2 out of 3 over there, and like, I think that we definitely want to avoid.
At the tone,
So if we're
please
setting
record
a
your
precedent
message.
for allowing
When
this
you
to
have
happen.
finished recording,
in the
you may
building,
hang up.
I think it's important to
Hi,
keep
Ray,
the
this is Carol
consistency,
Powell calling.
and
I'm at
the
a
symmetry.
historic review board.
Because
meeting
yes,
for
it's-
the windows, and I
and
had
you
a
want it to be the
question.
same,
So
yeah.
If you get this message, please give me a call back on my cell. Thank you.
Yeah. And
But like how close the-
Mandate that it's the same spec, that's why not,
I don't know, can we?
Here he is.
but wouldn't we just want to
Ray?
know?
What's up, Carol?
I'm at the historic review board meeting for the windows. They have a question and I don't know the answer. So,
Okay.
All right, I guess the first question is that we're looking to see. We're looking to see if the new window frame is going to be visually similar to the existing frame.
Color wise?
Well, color wise and as far as dimensions of the frame itself.
Yeah, so, like I expressed, that we're actually putting a window in a window, because we're not going to dismantle the existing frame, we're just gonna take out the glass. And then we're putting the window inside the window frame, so we're gonna take out the center mullion and then make the center mullion on the new window the same height as the other ones, but it will just be a hair wider.
Okay, the existing frame allows for that movable sash on the lower part.
That's correct.
What's the frame for the lower sash? It's a new frame inserted into the old frame?
Inserted into the existing frame, yes, so it's a metal aluminum window, Duranotic bronze. Being installed into the opening.
So it's an insert.
Well, if you're keeping the existing frame, well, I guess you would have. So, is the area of the glass going to be reduced?
By 3 inches.
Ray, this is Todd Secretcher.
It's
Is that 3 inches on both, on the left and the right? So 6 inches
Yeah.
total?
Yeah, so you're
Okay.
essentially taking a double hung window that you would
Right.
put in a frame and then inserting it right into the bronze frame. So we're gonna take the 1 inch insulated unit out, take the rubber out and everything else, and then put the metal that's in there now is 4.5 inches wide. The frame of the window is 3.5 inches wide. So it gets a stop on the outside, a 1/2 inch stop, and a 1/2 by 1/2 inch stop on the inside. Just like the other window to open.
Got it.
And doing like a brick to brick?
No, the existing window frame is already brick to brick, and it's already mortared in. They're not letting the touch that. But if Carol ever moved out of that office and they want to bring it back to the existing look, then all you have to do is just unscrew the window, take it out, and then put the glass back in the opening, and it's right back there. You're not dismantling the whole frame again. We put the original frames in.
And then just brainstorming here, because I want her to have windows that open. If you were to remove the whole original window, can that be saved? And in 10 years, should they want it put back in, if she feels comfortable with that, she could address it at that time and have it reinstalled. And in the meantime, for the next 10 years, you have a new brick to brick operable lower sash.
I can do anything. I can take the frame out and then somebody would have to store it somewhere. As far as putting it in 10 years, that would have to be somebody else's gig, because I ain't gonna be around for 10 years. But that's also, I'll do whatever is approved in writing, but I would have to check with Diane,
Right.
All right, I guess, what we need to do is we need to,
Should we let Ray go? Any
yeah,
other questions?
you.
Thanks, Ray.
No worries.
thank you, Ray. Okay.
Bye-bye.
So that's
That's
not
that's
what any of
different.
us were expecting. Here, we totally thought we were talking about something different.
What would happen is these are the existing windows and nothing would be changed in this upper portion of the window. but then the bottom part get a lot thicker. So it kind of changes it. It would change like the whole character of the
No,
way the
window.
glass
even
comes
even
out.
the upper part,
So then it just, oh, did you actually start marking?
Well, I
it?
started
Yeah.
drawing about three, I mean, this is a sketch,
even
but like
the
I
upper
draw.
part's gonna.
Oh, he would take the upper part out too?
Yeah,
So the whole thing? Okay,
yeah,
so the whole
because,
thing would
because
be
the whole,
very
you know,
different.
the whole thing is, the bottom rail, you can't keep the upper sash in place
Yeah, you need a
because,
track for the lower sash to ride up on.
Right.
Yeah,
well, but he said that the existing frame. Well, no, that's right, he's putting in a new frame within the
Taking the
existing.
glass out, and it's probably just a square, like a stock,
Right.
shape aluminum jam that's screwed in, and then the glass is set into that, so.
And this is like an issue larger than your office, but like this kind of precedent. Approving something like this where you drastically, you really change the character of a window. I know this is a newer
It'll-
building, I know all the things,
It'll,
but,
well, it'll be a significant visual change.
Yeah,
which is what
yeah.
our whole, right? I mean, that's what we're trying to preserve,
Yes.
right? So, I mean, I understand this is a new building and a new complex, but like, if somebody comes in, someone else comes in with like, an older house, and they're like, well, you approved this on this
I also
other
think-
project.
There-
like a-
There would be no reason to go back to a fixed window. There would be no reason. So I think that's kind of almost a non-issue. They went this route for whatever reasoning, but you can always screw
about
an operable window
Ka-ching,
closed.
ka-ching.
Yeah, right,
Well,
exactly.
that's why, yeah.
So you can
but-
screw an operable window closed and seal it, and then it is a fixed window. So there would be, he kind of insinuated maybe that he was sort of steered this direction by Unicorn or like something, or has he had any,
I asked them, and I was told if I paid for the windows,
they, you
then I could do it,
do
but I had to come down here. do
So
all
maybe
this
Ray was
stuff.
just thinking of
Oh.
the easiest way and most
So,
affordable way to
you
do
know,
it.
So I had asked him for estimates. He
Yeah.
started, like I said, 2 years, 3
Yeah.
years ago. So, because what he just said now was take out the whole window, and then it sounds like it wouldn't change the glass. Is that what he said on the phone?
It would, but it would be much less. It would be much less. I mean, 3 inches on each side is,
The best way for you to get a window that looks like the existing windows is to take the whole thing out and put a new window,
Right.
an
and that's what
operable
he
window
said he
that
had to
would.
go back to Diane about.
yeah, it's
And then
Diane.
Diane Ferris, she runs everything there with, Unicorn.
Okay,
So,
right.
So,
That's
so,
she would go to Paul or Michael and ask if it could be done.
And I think, I mean, that's,
well, okay, we have 2 ways of approaching this. We can have 2 motions here, and we can see which one passes and which one doesn't. I mean, realistically, I think that, I would have a problem if, with this being an inset into the existing window.
yeah,
I think that what we can do is we can vote on replacing the window with an operable window,
yeah.
which is not what he currently has. And so
Right. so-
we can approve that right now.
Okay,
And then then you would have to go and work it out with Unicorn as far
that's
as,
fine. That's fine. I'm meeting Alan Rothman tomorrow anyway.
okay,
He's their attorney.
all right.
Do you guys feel,
Comfortable on voting on replacing the entire window?
I think we have to say, like, so long as it matches the dimension profile, setback and proportions of the existing.
I agree, but
window.
it won't. It will definitely be a little less,
Like, can
right?
we see it? Like, I just don't
Well,
understand,
yeah.
like, is it, like, we had like, it's just hard when you don't have the information,
Yeah.
and you have someone saying, but like, that was 3 inches on either side, which is like, whoa,
yeah, no, I think that's very, very valid.
Well, he said what the existing was 4 inches? Is that what he said about the existing window?
I don't know, there's
But I
no
agree.
information on here.
I would
so.
approve a full brick to brick
Right,
window,
replace
upper
it.
below, fixed upper, as long as the rail is in the right location, it's set back the same amount. And we have the opportunity to see the overall
The
dimensions to make sure it's, you know, a half.
So
inch
kind of
or
similar to like
something.
what they just did, that first application that got approved, which would be much easier for you, I think, because you could just measure, either the aluminum thickness or just the size of the glass width by height, and then they should be able to tell you what
We
the
should be able
proposed,
to-
yeah,
The guy right on the phone.
yeah, Ray should be able to tell you
say-
what the, dimensions of the frame would be.
It's basically, we're probably making it sound like.
It's like
too
not
much.
that complicated. Yeah.
I think the biggest hurdle is you talking to the landlord and saying, I'd like to do a full frame replacement.
Okay.
And I'll take really good care of the old windows in case in 10 years you change your mind and want them put back in. But the thing that we want is the dimension here,
Which is this to the.
yeah. Right, that, and that on the old and the new.
Yeah, so existing and proposed,
On
you
the
want
window or on the old?
Both
both of them, so
And there
that we
should just
can
be cut
compare.
sheets. So he should be able to just print out a detail, I mean, it's this detail, but with dimensions. He should just have that, that's what any subcontractor has to give a contractor. and
Yeah,
an
Well,
architect to
so,
approve a
I
job.
mean, can we ask Ray for what the dimensions are? I mean, if he has this cut sheet or he's familiar with it, he should know what these dimensions are.
He could probably like send this to us tomorrow, right? He just has to like, we just need to know, because it's not on this drawing. But we need to know basically from that to
Yeah.
that where it meets the brick. And this to this where the meeting rail is.
Okay,
But right now we just have these overall dimensions.
all right, well, okay, I think that we can get that. Realistically, is it, I don't know. What dimension would not be acceptable to us?
Percentage wise,
Well,
I mean,
we're talking about this frame in comparison to this
yeah,
frame
it's probably very similar at the head, it's probably very similar on both
on the jam.
sides, on the gym and the meeting. The mullion across there, it's really gonna be the added bulk of the sash.
Well,
And the-
no, we're talking about straight replacement, not inset.
No, I know, yeah, I mean, presumably. The frame is gonna be roughly the same, but you still have the operable sash,
Right,
that's gonna add a little bit
okay,
in this. That's probably not a huge amount, because.
okay,
Bottom, we'll see the bottom will be thicker than.
yeah, and I'll tell you, the other big difference is that at the bottom, they don't have this sort of receiver and sill. But I don't have any problem with that.
No, I don't either at the bottom,
I mean, that has to be if it opens.
yeah.
Because what we can do is we can come up with what we would approve. And then, we'll see what Ray has. Or the dimensions that Ray, has, and, we can either verify or see if there's a problem.
What's the height of a normal brick?
2 3/4.
That's the, yeah. is it?
Yeah, it's an oddball number because there are three.
So the
3/4
frame looks like it's
foot.
probably roughly 3 or so inches, it's sort of in line with one.
Are
It's hard to tell.
are we talking about finding out the dimensions of the existing or these?
Well, you're wanting to potentially approve based on a maximum change amount from what's existing to what's there. So I'm just trying to say, if you want to get to that number now, what do we have here? It looks like it's roughly the height of a brick, so if you call it 3 inches, what? You're asking like, would we approve something that's 4 inches?
Yeah.
Certainly not going to approve something that's 6 inches, because that's basically what we just found out that we would lose 3 inches of light.
Yeah.
on either side, so.
I'd feel most comfortable having the existing dimensions and the proposed dimensions.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Is there a way to do it so she doesn't need to wait online? Can we do?
I think that's what Al's trying to say.
Yeah. How do we?
Can you wait a month? Okay.
It's still cool.
We're not opening quite yet.
Install middle winter
Yeah,
All right, because I think that there are some questions here that need to be resolved. And so let's do it that way. That way you can talk to Unicorn and see if Unicorn is going to have, or Galero is going to have a problem with replacing the entire window.
well, I think you can now have the information that the historic board was not going to approve what you asked for.
In the windows.
Yeah, so like now you can go to him and say, they don't want me to, they said no to this, so the only
So
other
I'm just
option.
asking them if they'll approve an entire new window in its place, not a window in the frame. An
Yeah.
Entire new
Brick
window,
to brick.
brick to brick, okay. All right. I'll
Yeah.
ask tomorrow.
Brick to brick replacement.
Right,
And then I
and the-
think the information,
If you can, you know, track down what's the dimension on the sides and the jams, at the top. We know the bottom is going to be different because it's a operable window, so it needs to have
When you
this
say
a little.
you mean the deck?
so if you just take a tape measure and go
Hang on,
basically
hang on,
from
hang
the
on.
brick to the glass, like what's that's the frame. So it's probably like 3 or
Yeah, or this is, I just made that.
That's a little-
Here thing. That's a different window.
difficult to understand.
So, well, but this is the brick along the whole outside. This is the existing frame.
Right.
So we want a window that goes up to the brick, like meets the brick on all these sides, like the masonry opening.
And you want the frame to be the same.
And you want the
thickness.
frame to be the same thickness and profile as much as it can.
Okay,
So I think you want to just say him, we want a brick to brick replacement window
can I take that?
within the existing opening with, well, does everybody agree with comparable dimensions and profiles and setbacks
Yeah,
to the existing window?
but do you also want the new dimension?
You want the new too.
Right, so to do that, just so we know, we need a dimension for the existing and the proposed window.
And that's basically like that. The top, the middle, and then the top is probably the same as the sides. We have the side view here.
Yeah, and
this.
I think the owner
Is it
tired
this?
of us because we always take him through this break.
I know.
Matter of fact, they started the
Oh, so
Building
this is-
number
oh, okay, so
one.
that's the
they
frame.
did, all of the young ones, they
Track.
came in and they.
Right.
they
So
said
we want
they-
the exterior.
Basically here
We want from
Father.
whatever
there.
the masonry opening is
to here,
to
right?
the glazing.
Yeah.
And he'll have this information, we just need to know, so we know, understand more clearly what.
Yeah, that's a
That
good
some
point.
says that all 3 windows must be done. I mean, if it's going to look like that,
Right, well,
Well,
Is by
Th-
chance
that's
the
a-
middle one the most important?
yes,
Oh,
that's next to my desk.
But I feel
Is
like
that
we're
the
also
middle
setting
window?
precedent for the whole building.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
2 windows to the left are my room, and then the one to the right is the room in
Is
the
the-
back.
you
okay.
can see, that's fine.
The one by my desk is the middle.
Oh,
one.
well, but you raised an interesting question because I know over here you have the door, which is the entrance, and then you have the post office. What's to the right on the facade?
It goes down and there's a door and windows further down for the seniors.
Okay, so
Further
the
down
senior center is off to the
The
right.
end of the building.
When you're looking at the facade, you read the post office windows and these windows is sort of
Yeah.
that.
Well, yeah, I guess if you can also bring a whole elevation so we can look and sort of try to visualize the impact of what you're proposing. Because
just a zoomed out picture, like just a picture of the whole, like the whole
Yeah.
front, yeah.
Because your question now is that, do I have to do all 3 or can I just do one?
If it's going to match up, the only reason I ask is because now he does a whole window.
Yeah.
I have to get a whole new estimate.
Yeah.
And if
Yes,
it gets
it is.
into $10,000-15,000. I'm not doing that for 3 windows.
Okay, so, if you could, we'll table this.
Okay.
And let you go and, figure out who, what, and where, what you wanna do. And then, we can reconvene, next meeting is
March 5th.
March 5th. Okay, 7:30. And you'll be first on the agenda because we,
Okay.
Do you wanna take a kind of crappy drawing with you? Do you wanna take this drawing? It's not very good, but maybe it'll be. Is that okay with you guys? Do I like to do this? Is, like,
Yeah, and then
Do you wanna look at it, Todd, or do you wanna look at it? You should probably be drawing.
There.
What's 7 inches?
That's it, sorry, that's a question mark.
Oh, okay.
Question
Yeah,
mark.
they're
inches.
gonna just go into their, like, computer file and then just drag out the dimension and then they'll know.
well, yeah, I mean, this is a computer generated detail. Which means that he has all of these.
He has all of
dimensions,
it, yeah.
And the existing, go out and measure it.
Or he says he has that on file, because
If
he
he
did the
installed
window,
it.
so.
Okay,
We just have them side by side. we
That's
can
right.
look at it.
that's right.
Yeah.
All right, Carol,
Thank you.
well, thank
You know where
you.
to find him if you have any questions too.
And, I'm sorry, what is your name?
Kate.
Kate,
Lauren.
Lauren, and
Todd.
I spoke to Sean on the phone.
Sean is, yeah, not with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
want to give you your fresh air, we really
Yeah.
do.
Thanks. Take care.
Okay.
Hey.
So,
Table.
so this is the down, this is demolition.
Okay, the demolition. Um. Well,
Oh.
okay.
Zooming in.
It's 36 Pine Street.
Hi.
Hello.
All right. Is it 21 Parsonage or 36 Pine Street?
Well, we live at 36 Pine, but we also own 21 Parsonage, which is right next to it. So the barn is on 21 Parsonage. Our house is on 36 Pine.
All right, now I understand the referral. Okay.
That's the only structure on that lot.
Right.
When was the barn, were these lots originally one and then they were divided?
Oh, it's a very long story, but apparently, yes, they were once upon a time. It was all one lot. It got divided like in the 80s through a will, I guess, which was apparently not necessarily legal, but so it was owned by we've owned the house since 2001, but somebody else has always owned that lot with the barn up until it's like 2 years ago, I guess, that we were able to purchase it. So now it's we haven't combined the lots per se, but we have them both. That's where we're at. And we actually love the barn and but it's looking a little saggy these days. And we're just afraid that it may not last on its own for too long.
Right. And there is a little history. They had applied for variances because if you look at the site map, you can see that what was being proposed originally is to turn it into a residence. And so therefore, it doesn't comply with a whole bunch of zoning regulation.
Yeah, that was the previous owner.
Right. And, so, the question really is that what can it be used for? And from, just to let you know, from that last evolution that they went through, the building was in pretty poor shape.
So this has never been before off this board,
This has, yes,
the demolition.
no, not the demolition, the conversion.
Like a tiny.
Well, it was actually supposed to be a reconstruction. What they were going to do is structurally, it couldn't be used for residents because it just was not, didn't meet any standards. And so what they were gonna do is they're gonna take it apart and reuse as much of the historic fabric as they could. But they wanted to keep it where it is right now, and that was the big obstacle with the zoning board.
Did that application include a structural analysis of the existing condition? Or is that irrelevant for what we are in 2024?
Well, I don't know exactly what happened with the zoning board. I know what we saw, and they had photographs. It just, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of opposition from the neighbors to making to making it a residence, and, from us and other people around it. And, because the property line is basically right next to our house. And so there were a lot of kind of issues surrounding it, although the zoning board, I guess, just decided, you're asking for too many variances and the lot's too small, and, that they kind of stopped right there and didn't go any further with it. And, we, have always thought that we would try to renovate it somehow or figure out a way to use it, but we're not quite ready to do that yet. And that's like a down the road sort of project. So I don't know that in its current state, how long it will last. And we had, an engineer came and looked at it, and, it's kind of rotting from the bottom up and the top down, and the roof is sagging, and the things I'm just afraid if the roof goes in, the sides are going to go, and it's right next to the sidewalk, and it's right next to our neighbor's house. And so I'm just concerned more from a safety. If it was further in and if it fell over, it wasn't going to hit anything, then we probably wouldn't care. But I think we're just a little concerned that if something does happen to it, that it's like not safe for people on the sidewalk or our neighbor's driveway or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, I had my doubts back then when they were talking about taking it apart and putting it back together again.
Right.
And I don't think the situation has improved over the years.
Well, it's been so wet, and all the rain has not, done it any favors.
There's no stone foundation, there's no masonry or foundation at all. Just
No.
No.
Oh yeah, I didn't take any pictures of the inside. I mean, I could and send those.
Have you had other?
Yeah, I've never been here for a demo request, so.
Well,
I don't know what the process would be, and you probably could maybe speak to this more of if this did come down, whether you would ever be allowed to build anything in its place.
no, you wouldn't.
You wouldn't, so.
Well, I think if we wanted to build something, it would, we would just go through the whole process. And if we did, it would be sort of something like that, but probably not as big, like a large shed sort of structure. But, we would also keep in mind, the setbacks, because honestly, I wouldn't necessarily want to put it there because it's right on the sidewalk. It's right on the property line. I mean, it's just not really a good spot for something. So, we basically, if we wanted to put something there, we realized that we would be sort of starting from a clean slate, and not, trying to keep that, wedge it into that footprint, but, so that's kind of where we're at. I can't really hear you guys. I don't know if you're talking, but
Process of abolishment. Ability on.
I can't hear. Your sound is bad.
What I would suggest that if you talk and inspect.
No, it's all garbly. Can't hear you.
Sarah?
I can only, you're just cutting it in and out. I just hear little bits.
Can you exit, fall back?
Writing me a note. Wait, hold it up.
Hang up, call back.
Okay. Okay, I'll leave and come back.
It could be a problem.
Yeah, like once you take enough of the original structure down, you've got to comply with all of the deals.
So basically, the only thing they could do would be to
Try to fix this.
stabilize this.
Yeah.
And that, like, stabilize the structure, and then they could replace the cladding and whatever else.
But I mean, yeah. All right, can you hear us now? Okay.
We can't hear you.
We gotta
She's
back
on
up.
mute.
Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, how about now? Okay.
All right, the issue is, go talk to the building inspector and see if he would, condemn it. Because then the process for demolishing a historic structure is kind of convoluted.
Uh-huh,
Expensive. I don't see how this would sort of qualify as something to spend that kind of money on. And if you can get the building inspector to condemn it, then it can be demolished for safety reasons.
okay.
And basically, we don't have a say in the matter.
Uh-huh. So if he doesn't, then what is the process? like?
Well, if he doesn't, then I'll dig out what is required. I know that you know, with the other demolitions that we've had, it wound up getting into a secret evaluation.
SEQRA.
SEQRA.
You guys started using that word around me and I was like, what are you talking about?
State Environmental Quality Review Act.
Okay,
I guess if you can take some photographs of the inside of it so that we can, you know, see exactly what would have to be done. You know, for example, with the endless scheme, they wound up gutting the inside, and you can see how any of the original structure was so modified that really, you know, it didn't make any sense to try and save it.
uh-huh,
So it's essentially that same sort of analysis here that we're trying to figure out what could it, you know, what could it be used for? What would be the point of trying to save it?
okay,
I took a few, village code 6517, a certificate of appropriateness or economic hardship, and that includes some language about demo. Is that list that you're talking about? I think it's in
Yeah.
there, so.
Well, if you scroll down, there's a section.
We'll go through.
Huh? Yeah, and there's a section which talks about that we can't overrule the building inspector when he condemns a property. Uh-oh.
Hi.
Hi. Have you come to arrest Todd?
No.
Okay. All right, so why don't you, if you could talk to the building inspector and see if he is willing to condemn the property.
okay. Who do I call or email to?
Right, right now, the building inspector is the Phillipstown building inspector.
WUNNER.
You can get hold of him through the town hall.
Oh, okay. So if I talk to him and I send him some pictures, and I also have, you know, like an email from the Mike Carr, the engineer that looked at it for me, and that kind of says,
I think that basically what you'd have to do is to have your engineer talk to Greg. And you know, they can talk about the condition of the structure.
uh-huh,
Is there this is just me who has a big heart for old buildings.
yeah.
Any scenario, I mean, this building tells a story. This
No,
building
it's a great building. If I didn't think it was
Yeah,
in danger of falling over, I'd keep it. But
Well, the point that you make about it being close to the sidewalk is the issue. I mean, if the building falls, somebody could get hurt.
right. It's also right next to our neighbor's property as well. And, you know,
Non-conforming, right, but it does hold that corner and it adds a certain density and uniqueness to, like, it's non-conformance. Conformance is actually part of the neighborhood and part of sort of how you read the space and people's memories of the space. And so I totally appreciate, like, you take it down and then you have more of a suburban yard, but it changes the spirit of
The
what,
whole,
of what it
of the
is.
history of the village and how it grew.
Yeah, but it's also getting to the point where it's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been neglected for a
You,
long time.
you own this house?
I can't see what you're pointing at. The brick house on the corner we own.
You own the shed also in the back of the second lot or the other part of, that's all your, both lots, right? So you have a frame
We're on the
shed.
corner, yeah, so we have the corner and then the lot on Parse. So it's like we're at 36 Pine, so that's on the corner. And then 21 Parsonage is the lot next to us.
So that's, oh, maybe that's. I just thought about, I thought this.
I think no, so their house, that's
their house.
and that's their yard. And that's the next door neighbors on Pine or whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, that was there before the.
Yes, oh, is there a cat outside? Yeah, I don't know their numbers, I know their name, Michael and Heidi.
Posted once on, or a few times on their Instagram that their cat's like.
Oh, George, do you want me to text them?
Do you have their
I
number?
have their, yeah, there's my friends. I will.
I'm sorry.
He's on the loop.
Trying to help the police officer.
Oh, that's.
Well, and the cat.
Okay, sorry, I'll text Heidi and Michael and tell them to come here. It's
Sorry
okay.
to interrupt.
Oh, kitty.
Cat is like part of the town, it's like a village. Right, I mean, it's true, it's like one of the most famous residents of the village. Yeah.
Well, it just, I don't, I think that, the historic nature of this structure is just its longevity, but I don't know if there's anything more than that it really contributes to the history of the village. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm not even sure when it was built. I don't really know how long it's been there.
Or anything like that? Have you looked at any of the historic maps to find out?
I don't even know that, I don't know if it would appear necessarily on a map. I mean, because it's, you know, sort of an accessory building,
Right.
really.
well, then also, from what I remember, because when we looked at it last, there were a lot of photographs of the inside of the house, of the structure. And it was just hanging on by a thread at that time.
Well, it still is hanging on. You know, I think, I mean, even the prior owner, even with their application, I mean, they were trying to keep the footprint and like sort of the profile, but they were basically going to tear it down in order to do that. I mean, the wood is, it's old, it's pine, I don't know, it's pine, it's kind of spongy. I don't know how much of it they would have actually been able to use, or if they were even planning on using it. I'm not sure. I think, they were trying to keep the building sort of in the same spot and with the same height and profile so that it kind of was referencing what was there, but it was a little more contemporary looking. I don't know, but I mean, they were going to take it down. I don't think they weren't really saving it. They were just changing it.
Okay, so let's take it that way, and what I can do is I can track down exactly what to approve a demolition. The steps that we'd have to go through. I'd have to dig that out from our previous files where we did have a demolition. But what I would suggest is go talk to the building inspector and see if he would condemn
Okay.
it.
Okay.
because that sort of cuts through a lot of. And I understand the concern about saving it, but the thing is that, you know, if Lincoln had slept in it, or,
We don't know who slept in there. We don't know who worked in there. I worked on a project once where we were
Awesome.
working, we are,
Yeah.
and they approved the demo of the shed. And then after it was demolished, boom, that's where he had all of his practices. So I just want to say, like, we just don't know. We don't know when this was built. Like, we don't know what happened there.
Not
I'm not saying that we
curious,
shouldn't
yeah.
have that happen.
Right, right.
No, this really, this is a really special building on that street. And it really tells a story of something. We don't know what the story is.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, I mean,
I mean, you know, my feeling is that everybody contributes something, and, you know, obviously you have feelings for for the building, and so try and convince us otherwise. I
No, I
mean,
mean, I completely agree with your sentiment about the structure and the contribution to the streetscape, 100%. I feel conflicted because also it's not getting any better, and if the intent is not to try to renovate this into a usable structure, which it seems like at least in the foreseeable future, that is not the intent.
Right.
And the fact that there
Well-
would be you would need a massive intervention to even bring this building into any sort of compliance. There's no foundation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's feels like there are two not great paths forward, and one is demolition, or the other is that it just continues to degrade for another decade or two.
until it's-
Or somebody.
or, well, you know, it could last 2 months or it could last 2 years. And, you know, like anytime there's really heavy snow, I'm like, I kind of look at it.
thing, even if you continue using it as a barn, what would you have to do to it in order to, you know, to stabilize it? I mean, for example, with the roof, I would say you're gonna have to replace the roof, so you're gonna lose all of that historic fabric. The siding is the same thing. Half of it was rotten a couple of years ago when we looked at it. The frame was a joke. I mean, it was, you know, essentially Tinker Toys holding this building up.
I would love for it to stay. My gut is it's coming down for that reason. And then I start to ask questions about maintenance and at what point do we need to ask for something to be tarped? And that would have been 8 years ago or 15 years ago or whatever, but it's, you know, we've watched it disintegrate and it's beyond repair potentially.
And that can be a technique for some people. Like,
Well,
I'm not saying you, I'm not saying you,
agreed,
but like that can
you
be
know,
a technique.
No, for sure.
demolition by neglect. But the point is that even if it were to be used again, still the building has zoning problems. Doesn't comply with any of the zoning regulations, and so, you know, I'm not totally sure how it could be used for anything other than just a shell.
Storage structure.
It would remain as-
Well, but
A
the-
shop, like a woodworking shop, artist,
Right.
like if all these things are replaced in kind, never demolishing completely, then it can be used, it can be. As a-
All right.
There wouldn't be
Would-
horses presumably, so then we're little better than it was 100 years ago, but
Had that been started a long time ago, then you could have made the case, but the issue is that if you do a renovation to upgrade the shell as it is, it would, the alteration under the existing building code would essentially require it to be rebuilt.
That level of renovation and intervention you're saying would trigger require
Zoning requirements.
zoning updates and stuff.
Well, the zoning is the fact that it doesn't comply, it's in the setback here and the setback here. And that doesn't have, well, the residential part was the part where it would have had to have been, you know, something like back here. I mean, ideally, one of the things that they were looking at was moving this to here.
Right, and the
Because-
lot wasn't big enough, and the
Right.
parking was an issue. I
Right.
think as a residential space, it brings up too many zoning codes
Right.
as a farm.
But even if you were to use it for a structure, the amount of renovation that you're talking about would in fact destroy most of the historic fabric. So then what's the point? What are we trying to accomplish?
I mean, one thing, but to bridge the spirit and the reality, I wonder what we need to do for documentation, if there's something about, for the history of the town, understanding and documenting the existing conditions, having drawings and photographs and materials, and if any, where that goes, I don't know. If it's like a waste of time and money, I don't know,
Well,
but something that,
You raise a good point, because typically with our demolition, we did in fact have them document the existing structure. In other words, there were photographs were taken. I don't think we prepared any drawings, but photographs were taken of the structure for historical purposes.
mhm.
Yeah, that's a very good idea.
But I hear you. I mean, it would be great if there's like, Rachel White came by and was like, I'd like to cast this thing and leave it in Sarah's yard for her witness as this beautiful art object from now.
Anybody who wants to come photograph it is more than welcome.
All right, so,
We're not.
Yeah, it's probably out of our
We're not
control.
voting on anything, are we?
Yeah.
no, we're not voting on it, because basically, for the demolition application, I need to track down and see what it is that we need.
If it comes back to us. If what, if
Well,
one or.
I think that one of the things that, we should do is in fact, document the structure
Mhm.
and where it is, so that, if it's demolished because it's unsafe, at least we have documentation. So Sarah, is that any problem?
Well, I mean, I can take pictures of it. Y'all come take pictures of it. Anybody who wants to do that is more than welcome. So,
And it could be that the past application to make it a house, there was documentation, thorough documentation. about the
We can
existing
check that,
conditions.
yeah, I mean, they did a lot of, they did a lot of work and research, and I know, Paul Henderson had a whole presentation that, that he had helped them with. And, so there might be some information there. I don't know.
Okay, so we'll table it. Let me do research on the demolition process. And you'll reach out to the building inspector to see about if he would condemn it as unsafe.
Okay.
All
And if
right,
once he does that, is there then like a time, frame where it has to be taken down, like-
well, I think that that's essentially something you have to work out with him.
Mhm.
But just to let you know that if that in fact happens, then we should, please let us know so that we can determine what sort of documentation is required in order to at least have something to file away. Need
Yeah.
to find out where we will end up putting the other documentation files. I got a feeling it's sitting in a folder in a warehouse in Philadelphia. That's the last scene in, what was that movie? Harrison Ford. The Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, geez. Okay,
Gems in there, yeah.
Yeah,
thank you, Sarah. I think we're
Yes,
You're allowed to leave now.
Okay, all right, so I'll talk to the building inspector and you can
and
figure out the
have my
demolition
email
thing.
address.
All right. So, right, thank you.
Well, Sarah, do you have my email address?
I think, let me see, I think I do.
Okay.
On the agenda.
I think I was caught when the email about this meeting, I think.
Let me know what's going on so that, we can.
Okay, I've got it.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, bye.
All right, everybody's favorite.
That's right. Wait.
Oh,
Do we have any public comment? Right? And I always have to ask that.
no.
Yes. Please keep them at bay. All right, no public comment.
Minutes.
Okay,
I have no comment on page 1.
all right, anybody have comments on page 1?
Nope.
I wasn't here, so I feel like I lost the house.
Um. On page 2, we have 10 Julia Lane, which is the same as what we have here. Oh, wait a minute. Suite 101 and Suite
They
103.
must have the same, share the same address?
This was this hair salon with a signage.
Yeah,
Yeah. But the thing is that it's a different building,
yeah.
so it can't be 10 Julia Lane. It's got to be another building.
10 Julia Lane signifies, I guess, where the office is for Butterfield.
Right, but the signage was on the new building,
Suite 103,
Right.
Suite 103.
Right,
but
they-
it's not a
they're-
suite,
They
not the
must
suite.
identify it by a different address. It has to be, yeah.
Yeah, it's
fully
a different building.
Maybe the
It's
application is using them.
Building number 1, and it's the unit.
Yeah, I think that,
Let's see if the Google has anything.
Let me look at the Facebook group where she announced her salon.
Oh,
Get
somebody
you-
announced this. Oh, wow, look at that.
Get you.
Because they're doing it on behalf of their tenants. So in other words, they're putting the application in, not the proprietor of the salon.
Oh, that's true.
And they did that also for dancing.
changes, but the changes to the other building.
Yeah.
Talking about the one that was here.
No, this,
tonight.
well, I don't, 10 Julia Lane, I'm pretty sure
is.
is
It's
the
the Leahy
Leahy
Pavilion.
Pavilion.
And
But,
is that where their office is?
That's
The
where their
unicorn
office
is where their office is.
right,
So they're putting the application in
Yeah.
on behalf of their tenants in building number 1. Does that make sense?
yeah,
But it
Building
doesn't
number
say-
1 is the new,
So it should just say building
Building one, unless there's,
Street address,
yeah.
but
Well,
Well,
Is there a
whatever,
street
however
addresses?
you wanna phrase it.
all right, let's change it, 10 Julia, Lane.
building one, suite 103.
Well, 10 Julia Lane is Leahy Pavilion, so why don't we say, on behalf or. All right, let's just, says, locally listed area of the historic district appearing via video conference, Michael Galero, owner, new shop signage on a multi-mixed use property. And,
Quotation mark missing.
well, the parlor, what is the parlor?
name.
That's the name of the sign, right?
Yeah.
So let's take that out and say mixed use property dash building one. Okay,
I just had crossed out slightly because the font is a completely different style. I know that's small, but it's not any way, shape or form close to the dancing dialogue signage, so.
This says 1806 Route 90.
Yeah, probably must have a Route 90 address, because.
She said, oh yes, I'm opening a salon on 1806 Route 90 by the post office.
Okay.
all right.
Yeah,
So what's the address?
18,
1806.
1806.
Route 90.
Call it building one. All right, so, we can keep 10 Julia Lane, Suite 103, because that's the office of Unicorn, construction. But say, applied for building number 1, 1806 Route 90. Yay. All right, anything else on page 2?
no,
Page 3? I don't have any changes on page 3.
nope.
I guess on page 4, nationally equals designated area,
Where are you looking?
So just remove
the
the.
first line.
This is that. This is the house just behind Captain's Restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Behind to the side,
Yeah.
That was a workshop, so they'll be back, is that the idea?
No, we ended up approving.
Oh, does that happen sometimes?
Yeah,
Oh,
because all of the material is there, so they're.
So that was my only contribution for page 5. Before it says board members concluded that, I think it should say S. Smith produced a material. Sample. For the vinyl cladding. And
Where,
before it says board members,
yeah, okay,
because that's the only reason we ended up. Going forward was he left, remember?
mhm,
He left and went up the hill and got the sample and brought it back, and we were all like, oh, okay, this is actually
all right,
way better than we thought.
so,
S. Smith produced a material sample for the vinyl cladding, and board members concluded.
okay, so you got that?
But if you can just give me what you're marking up, it would be.
All right,
then
I'll
I can
do a
do it
markup.
instead of my, you know,
All right, so you want,
Right
To
before the
insert
board,
and-
yeah, just insert S. Smith. Produced a material sample. For the vinyl cladding. And ... What is there? Board members concluded that they were acceptable. Rare that I contribute anything to minutes, so I was proud of that one. I was like, wait, something happened here.
okay, so I have,
Cross out my slightly on page 2. I know you rolled your eyes at it, but
your page 2,
it was a very different font.
I don't even see what you're talking.
okay,
It was like a serif versus like a quirky, funky, like all over the place, hand drawn.
Oh, okay.
Like-
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Wildly.
Wildly different. Okay. Times New Roman versus like.
Helvetica.
More different than that.
okay.
All right.
Do I have a motion concerning the minutes as amended?
I would vote to approve the minutes as amended.
Do I have a second?
Mhm.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And one abstention.
Yeah.
Okay,
But you should close us out. I think we should move to. Make your first motion to adjourn us.
Very gavel.
Karen?
You want one?
Yeah.
What can we use?
Okay, okay, so this was tabled for me.
Yeah.
And to research. Well,
We should, I think it's worth us all having a discussion about this demo thing. And at what, like what you were saying, like at what point do we need to enforce? Put a tarp on it or something like that.
Not specific to this building, but in general.
But in general,
Yeah,
because
there'll
this
be
is,
others.
I know I'm coming from a New York City background where this is definitely like a landlord technique. I
Yeah.
think.
Oh,
What we
yeah,
don't
for
want
sure,
is just to leave it until,
Right.
it could be a technique here too, and I'm not saying it's always malicious, I don't think. this
well,
is was, but
I think in this particular case, that doesn't apply, but it is,
We know
it is,
doesn't, but-
right. It is a technique, demolition by neglect.
Which is in the code and something that's not okay, right? There is something. that
Yeah.
says you can just neglect
Right,
it.
well,
Like, how do
yeah,
you
it-
Yeah, but so then what do we do, like, what do we,
yeah, you go around and
So
say,
that's
oh,
the
I'm sorry, we're writing you up because you're not taking care of your properties. I mean, that becomes,
Believe
and
me, I've got-
enforcement is an issue.
Or in my. Property in town that I would love to be able to write that little note and drop it on their door. I don't know. I don't know.
Is that the inspector just checking for safety or that's different?
That is just a generic problem, is that the building inspector really has a lot of other stuff and he doesn't
That's fair.
really give a damn. And it has always been a problem ever since I've been on the board. The building inspector has been or maintaining their interest has been a problem. And so, I don't know how to solve that. I mean,
Yeah,
it's something that we've been struggling with.
I
One,
mean, luckily, it's not something that comes at us often.
right, I mean, I think at one point, what I suggested is that, you know, maybe using the police to, because the other thing is, it used to be, or normally think of midnight, yeah,
Right, exactly.
midnight,
Gotta learn this to-
midnight construction, you know, in other words, but that happens during the day because we're basically a commuter community.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they go to New York City to work and then come back. So during the day, contractors come in, replace windows and, you know, and it's all done because the building.
It's harder to get
inspector-
away with that stuff now. Most people are home way more than they
Right.
used to be. Sorry.
But that's an issue, and the enforcement, you know, we can sit here and
Oh, enforcement is a huge
Pontificate.
issue.
And this is like, maybe a first step is just writing a letter from us saying like, you're on watch or something, you know, like this, I don't know, maybe just like sort of a little bit of like push would help in some circumstances, I don't know.
I kind of look at these things as like, especially something like that, as like if somebody was interested in using that building or using the shed in their backyard that's collapsing or painting their siding that has paint that's been peeling for 30 years, like if they were interested in doing it, they're gonna do it. Like us saying you should do this thing is not going to elicit them opening their checkbook and spending money on something that they don't have any interest in doing it.
And the other thing to keep in mind is that there are very few individual historic properties in the village. We have a district, and there's a little bit of a difference because you're not dealing with individual landmarks. You're dealing with a cluster of buildings that are supposed to be similar. So.
But it has like, I mean, that one does weirdly sort of almost have more of an outsized impact due to these things that are making it even more problematic than if it was just a barn in a field somewhere where it'd be like, oh, you know, you'd let it go. If someone wasn't gonna spend the money to renovate, they just let it go and then it just over a century, you know, it degrades, but this is a different circumstance. Because it's on the sidewalk. Also, you know, this is like a small town filled with children too, and I'm surprised that it hasn't been I mean, if it hasn't been broken into or vandalized or kids going in
Oh,
there,
there's
like,
nothing
like,
inside
It's
there.
too close to how, like, it's,
is it? Yeah, yeah.
And the thing is that you win some, you lose some. I mean, the whole Butterfield development was something which was a bitter pill that we wound up dealing with just because we really had no alternative. And the other thing to keep in mind is that people's respect for our board is not universal throughout the
oh,
village.
yeah, I mean.
And
So,
so I think it therefore, and then pivoting on that is like, it therefore makes it even harder because like, the reality is we have no teeth, like, for this enforcement, and so then you kind of wanna like, you almost want to try to find the common ground that is acceptable, because otherwise it's like, people do what they want, and then they're like, oh, they tell their friend, oh yeah, they didn't do anything, I did exactly what I wanted, and no one ever came and like,
it's a lot more effective if we can convince the owners to do the right thing. And so that's the fine line that we have to walk. We have to, I mean, it's just like the Phil Mansky's. You know, it was sort of questionable.
that was the first one, which, the windows, which again,
Ken?
Oh, okay, yes,
Yeah.
all right. All right, do I have a motion that we adjourn?
Yeah,
Kate,
I motion
okay, do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, done.
I mean. And. Well.